The City of Coolidge City Council. The first order of business will be the invocation by Pastor Paul Roloff of the Christ Lutheran Church. After the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I need to make a correction. I am not a pastor. I wish I was, but I'm not. I am the church council president and elder.
Okay.
Pastor Carney is the pastor at our church now, and he is at a pastor's meeting up in Mesa, so I got nominated. I've been here before.
Thank you for showing up.
Well, I'm glad to be here. So if you don't mind, we'll begin praying. Dear Lord God, gracious Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing on this group tonight. We thank you for allowing us to live in this city. We thank you for the protection you offer by first defenders, responders, firemen, policemen. We thank you for this city council. We thank you for the blessing of living here. We would ask now that everything we do and say tonight is pleasing to you and therefore beneficial to all the citizens of this fine city. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States
of the United
and to the republic
Republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
for all.
Thank you, sir. Sienna, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Jimmy Walker. Councilmember Tina Kaufman.
Present.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Navarro.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, the first item under presentations, item number 4, is we are going through the Adopt a Streets art contest tonight. And we have the 3 winners here. Andrea Brannon, are you here somewhere? You want to come on up to the podium? Good evening.
Hi.
You're with Liberty Tax. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this contest?
So I've been working with Sienna and Rick Miller with the City of Coolidge to coordinate getting more volunteers within the community to adopt local streets within the town and clean them up generally every quarter on a Saturday. We've had a really good turnout. We've had a lot of kids. Last time we did a cleanup, we had 21 volunteers from Coolidge High School. And we're building on that. We've got 3 new applicants to adopt a street in the last 2 weeks, I believe. And so we're building on that. We're wanting everybody to get involved. We thought a good way to do that would be to get the kids to help us design the logo, which is up here. And it's turned into a fun little thing to see all the different designs and the kids getting involved. So.
Okay. And we're here to announce the winners are here.
I didn't.
I see a group of
Yeah.
young individuals down here. The first place winner is Tatum Volk. There she is. Congratulations. I believe that first one up there
That's
is
the-
hers.
Yeah.
All right. And she will receive a $50 cash prize.
Sienna, do you have that?
Yes, they're up on the mayor's.
okay.
You have it.
All right, they're here somewhere in this mess. All right. The second place winner is Samantha Ostrowski. Was I close? She'll receive a $25 cash prize. The third place winner is Maria Bahar. She'll receive a $25 cash prize. Maria, Congratulations. Good job.
I'll let you hold on to that. Thank you. Thank you.
I believe these will be going on a street sign.
The first place winner.
First place winner will be going on the street signs. And when you adopt the street sign, street in Coolidge, and they put up the street sign, her rendition will be on that sign. So, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Just one quick thing.
Go ahead.
They can contact Sienna at the city or me at Liberty Tax if they would like to sign up and adopt a street. We do have a map so you can come in and see if something might coordinate with your business or your organization.
Okay, thank you. You didn't happen to see any of your council members over there collecting trash, did you?
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to mention any names. Okay, thank you. Next order of business is a presentation by Superintendent Sherry Wallace on the Coolidge Unified School District bond election. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor Henry, telephonically, council members. Tonight, I believe in your packet you received a PowerPoint with information about our bond election. However, we have cut that PowerPoint, you'll be happy to know, and I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa Unger, our Director of Business Services, and she's going to present. Then if you have any questions, either one of us can answer, or our Director of HR, or our Assistant Superintendent, we can answer any questions you may have.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Coolidge Unified School District has called for a bond election that will be on this November's ballot. Bonds are common in school districts. They're actually something that is sort of suggested by the state for districts that wish to have large capital purchases or large capital improvements for their school districts. So something like a new athletic facility, added security measures, even school buses are commonly purchased through bonds. The state of Arizona does provide capital funding, however, it's small in comparison to other funds. Bonds, as you guys all know, it's the voter's choice. So as the school district, we thought it was appropriate at this time to allow the voters to see the projects that we have proposed and vote this November. It's a very transparent process, so for school districts, we have to hold these public meetings, allow the public a chance to hear the projects that we propose, obviously vote yes or no, and then we have to stick to that plan. So should a bond be passed, in October of each year, it's our responsibility to hold a public meeting, report out on everything that has been completed to date and what will be completed in the future, so it can truly stick to what the voters have approved. Over the past 2 years, the district has been reviewing capital potential projects. We have completed a facilities condition assessment to take a look at our structures, our plumbing, our roofing, our HVAC system, so that we can really decide and prioritize and let the public know over the course of 10 years, which is how long our bonding capacity will be good for, what may need to be completed in that time. So this is a little bonding history for CUSD. Back in 2008, the Coolidge voters did approve a bond. In 2013 and 2014, those were the last sales that could be completed under that bonding authorization. Unfortunately, when the bonds were approved in 2008, the values of the home in Coolidge were much higher. In 2013 and 2014, because those assessed valuations had fallen, the bonding capacity had shrunk. So these were the last 2 sales under that 2008 bonding capacity, and these are the projects that were able to be completed. Without bonds, these are things that we, the district, would not be able to have completed due to the limited capital funding we do have. If you read through this list, you'll notice that a lot of things are geared towards athletics. They're geared towards instructional buildings and student transportation. That is because in 2008, that is what the voters expressed they wanted the bond funds to go towards. Athletics was of number one concern, student transportation, and then all additionally instructional facilities. So Coolidge, West School was able to be completely renovated, and a lot of the athletic facilities at Coolidge High School. The state funding formula for school districts does provide capital funding, as I mentioned before. However, prior to fiscal year 20, prior to this year, our school district received $170,000 compared to a $15 million funding from the state for capital. This has been reduced since 2008. The figure should be closer to about $1 million. However, the funding was cut. So the district has lost out on close to $10 million since 2008 in capital funding that we should have had. So this year in FY20, they did increase that back to $700,000 that the district will receive this year. It's not quite the $1 million that the full allocation should be. But that $700,000, the state lifted the fact that it could only be spent on capital. So this year we were able to direct that towards maintenance and operations, salaries and benefits. As you know, minimum wage increased. Our health insurance costs continue to go up. So a lot of that $700,000, while it was very much appreciated by the district, it was spent before we received it. It had to go to other things before capital. So I mentioned the facility condition assessment that we commissioned to identify deficiencies and prioritize this spending so that when we did come to the taxpayers, we had a solid plan in place. The bonding capacity that will be on the ballot this November is $21 million, and we wanted to make sure that we had a solid plan to spend that $21 million, that we could let the taxpayers know that it was necessary. One other reason why we decided to go for a bond election now, there's been a lot of changes in safety protocols, a lot of changes to the way the front offices of schools look. We want to make sure that we have the safest schools we can. So whether that be glass to prevent the public from gaining access to the front office, buzzers on doors, security cameras. So a lot of that has changed since 2008, and we want to make sure that we utilize this bond to bring all of our facilities kind of up to that new normal. Another reason are HVAC systems. Many of them have outlived their useful life. We do have grant opportunities that we can take advantage of to replace HVAC systems. However, we can only receive grants for HVAC systems on instructional buildings. So not offices or not any athletic facilities that are kind of multi-purpose rooms. So we continue to watch those HVAC systems. Many of them are near their useful life. We unfortunately don't have the ability to replace them before they go out, but we continue to watch them to try to get as many years out of them that we can. These are the proposed projects and the categories that we want to address if this bond should pass in November. First and foremost is safety. We want to look and make sure that all of our sites are equipped with security cameras in all the areas that are appropriate. Coolidge High School would be one at this time that is lacking in having appropriate security cameras. We would want to look at safety storefronts at all sites. Currently, most of them have a pretty updated storefront. Heartland Ranch does not. If you are to go through the front doors at Heartland Ranch, you have access to the entire campus. So we would want to look at making some safety storefront there that when guests come in, they would be buzzed then into the campus. Our fire and burglar alarm systems, many of them are aging, high maintenance costs, and we do have to, by law, make sure that we have running fire systems at all of our school sites. The last thing under safety is parking lot pavement. We do preventative maintenance. However, some of them have very large cracks that can no longer be just patched. They do need to be resurfaced. And we have some tripping hazards that we need to address at some of our school sites. The second category is HVAC. Through that facilities condition assessment, we were able to identify $4 million in projected HVAC systems that may fail in the next 5 years. So we want to watch those. Like I said, we can't replace them just because they're getting old. We do have to make sure we get, as much out of them as we can. And so we do watch these identified HVAC systems. The third item is the Performing Arts Center. That facility was built in 1978. Currently, it is closed to the school and to the public. The curtains they no longer meet fire code, so they can't have any retardant applied to them anymore. They are very old and brittle. We have just had an inspection in that facility in hopes that we can gain 1 more year of clearance on those curtains. However, if they don't pass, we will have to keep that facility closed until we are able to replace those curtains. They're about $80,000 to replace. The rigging is also out of code. It is currently locked. We haven't used it in a couple years. It just kind of limits the functionality of that facility. If we were able to complete the renovations in the PAC, we would also look at lighting upgrades, ADA compliance, and updated technology. The last piece falls under athletics, but also safety. The tennis courts that are to the south at Coolidge High School have large cracks and can no longer be repaired. We would look at completely replacing those. The track at Coolidge High School is also in need of full replacement. It too has had preventative maintenance. However, I think it's pushing about 20 years old and it can no longer be resurfaced. We would need to pull that completely up and lay a new track. And the last piece is the weight room at Coolidge High School. Because many students use that, we would want to look at the equipment that they use and make sure that it is also up to code for safety. The bonds would be issued in March of 2020, should they pass in November. The district would do an initial bond sale of $5 million. That would come off that $21 million capacity. The rest would stay to be sold only if needed. So after the $5 million, after the projects that I talked about on this previous slide, as the district were to identify more bonds, we could go for an additional sale, and we would do something similar to this to let the community and taxpayers know how we would propose that another bond sale would be spent. So our tax rate is made up of a primary tax rate and a secondary tax rate. Should the bond pass in 2020, our tax rate would see a 33-cent increase, and that's on the secondary side. So our primary tax rate stays pretty similar from year to year. It's what the state sets their budget against. They let us know each year what our per pupil funding, what we get for each student, and that's how our primary tax rate is set. Our secondary tax rate is voter approved. This is the dollar cost that 33-cent tax rate equates to. So for Coolidge, the average assessed valuation, a home in Coolidge is about $64,000, $65,000. For a home with that assessed valuation, that homeowner would see a $21 annual increase, or about $1.78 a month. If their home was valued at $100,000, this 33-cent tax rate would cost them about $2.75 a month. For a commercial property, the average commercial property assessed valuation in Coolidge is about $365,000. That would be about $18 a month. For a commercial property valued at $1 million, it would be about $50 a month. This is a historical projection of how the primary and secondary tax rate combined would look for the district. You can see that after that one-time increase of 33 cents, it stays pretty even. Like I said, our primary tax rate does not change too much. It's based off the state's budget, and they set that tax rate for us. Some things if the bond does not pass in November. So for safety, we would continue to monitor our fire and burglar alarms. Like I mentioned, our fire alarms have to be functioning. If they're not functioning on any given day and we're not able to have a service call, we do have to have a physical person on fire watch at a school site that doesn't have a functioning fire system. So in addition to monitoring that, we would continue to monitor transportation. If we were unable to replace and keep our bus fleet up to date, we would have to make sure that our transportation radius for students was adequate based on the fleet that we would have. Under HVAC, because we cannot operate without HVAC, we would have to reduce costs in order to prioritize those replacements of HVAC. Our largest expenditures are salaries and benefits. The cuts, would probably have to come from there. Under the PAC, we would continue to talk about the possible closure. It is dependent on that inspection that we just had. They are good for 1 year. If we do pass that inspection, we would be able to open the PAC back up for CUSD events only. It would not be beneficial to us to continue to rent the facility due to the wear and tear on the facility. Under athletics, the southern tennis courts would have to remain closed. We do have the north courts, however, that does not provide enough space for the full athletic competitions to take place, and it would also cause some scheduling conflicts with our PE classes. The track would also have to be closed. We would have to relocate those that use that competitively, whether it be the track team, the cheerleaders who cheer during the football game, and also the PE classes that utilize those facilities. So these are just some of the things that we would have to look at, prioritize, cut costs, to make sure that we would continue to provide safe and cool buildings regardless of what happens with the bond. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I have one question.
Sure.
So you were saying during your presentation that you would sell $5 million worth of bonds, see how many projects you could get done. If, let's just say you knock it out of the park, you're able to get everything done for $5 million. We know that's not going to happen, but let's just say it does. Then are you done? Are you going to continue to sell more bonds and find more projects? Or is this list your list, and then once it's done, you're done?
So actually, the projects that are listed under the categories that we talked about, the $5 million will cover. So we have identified and tied pricing to all of those. So the track, roughly $500,000 to replace. The tennis courts, about $400,000. So we've tied pricing to all of those, and the $5 million is appropriate. After that is spent, no, we would not sell again until we were able to identify a need. And it would, so while we knew that all of these projects were nearing the end of their useful life, we do wait until it's appropriate, that we're not doing ahead of time. So we would probably continue to watch that facility condition assessment that we do that kind of provided us useful life for a lot of systems, for roofs, for plumbing. And I would guess in probably 5 to 6 years it would be appropriate to do another bond sale.
Okay. And so
That would not have to go out to an election. It would be under that $21 million authorization. The district could do that after notifying the public. It would not have to go to another vote.
And that was really my question after you notified the public and everything. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you went out and notified the public and say that you need a widget, whatever, and that's what you need, and you're going to go out and the public was against it, would you still go for it?
Would we still sell the bonds?
Yeah, would you still sell the bonds?
That's just not appropriate. So me personally, we would go to the governing board, the superintendent. It's the taxpayer's choice. It's the taxpayer's dollars. So if it were something that they didn't see were to be a priority, the district would have to come up with an alternative plan.
Okay. You're itching. You might as well say it.
Poor Alyssa. But basically, you said if the public was against it, what we would do is we would look at that facility assessment. We would look at what needed to be done next, and then we would go to the governing board, who are the representatives of the public.
Okay.
And I might add this too, that we just didn't do this frivolously. We've really thought about it, but the background on it was in 1994, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that the state of Arizona, on a lawsuit, and ruled that the state of Arizona was obligated to make sure that every school district had capital funds equally. So that went along for a few years, and then during the recession, they took all of our capital funds, all of it. And so now they put back part of it, and we're thankful, but there's also $10 million, about $1 million a year for Coolidge Unified Schools that there's no provision for, nor is there a provision for inflation. I believe there's another lawsuit coming because of that. And so what the state of Arizona has said, it's up to the local taxpayers. If they want good school facilities or facilities that are upkept, then it's up to them to vote for it. So that's why we're here for a bond.
Sounds like they did to the schools what they did to us with the roads. They reallocated some of the money from the HERF funds and from the transportation to DPS and other things. They did the same thing to them. No, nothing the legislature does surprises me, really. You know, sometimes it disappoints me, but it doesn't surprise me. Okay. I'm kind of, I read through all the other packet that was a lot longer than this one. I'm kind of wondering about the curtains in the I call it still the auditorium, but how come they can't be they can't be treated again? Or I mean, where's our fire chief? Is he here tonight? Yeah. Maybe I'm just curious. Can you weigh in on this? Do you have any knowledge of this? I mean, Alyssa, you don't. I mean, I'd like to hear from you, but I'm just wondering what. Yeah, no, I mean, it just seems to me that.
Mayor, Thompson, City Council members, when a material is put into a structure for use, say the curtains or something like that, they do have a finite life. If there is a fire retardant that is applied to them, eventually that fire retardant is going to degrade that material over a number of years. And apparently from what I've heard, these curtains have been there since 1978. So you're looking at a large number of years that these curtains have been in that same position, and eventually it's just not the retardant is not going to be provide any protection to a material that's that old.
Okay.
Yeah, we did apply about a year and a half of a new layer of fire retardant, and at that time they told us these curtains may crumble. They didn't. It worked, but it only gives us a year at a time. So we're hoping any day now that they'll come back and tell us that they're good for another year, but we're still waiting.
It seems crazy to me, but I believe. I mean, it just seems out of. Okay, so that's one of the main well, that is the main reason that nothing's happening over there. Too much liability.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, for as many people as that facility holds,
Yeah.
and some of the shows that we do, we just could not have the public in there.
Okay, and that really jams a lot of different places up, not just you guys, but it hurts a lot of things. Because that building was used for quite a bit.
It was,
in
yeah.
the community.
We've been contacted, like Cavett, for instance, and they've had to plan their year accordingly in a different facility. I'm not sure which.
Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation. I'm sure it will go out on whatever we're calling our channel. What is our channel now? It will be shown on that, so our citizens will get a look at it. You guys, no questions? Nothing? No? Down here? No, not at all. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. We'll move into call to the public. This is the portion of the meeting where if you have anything that you wanted to say to address the council, you have 3 minutes to step up to the podium, give us your name and address, and make your comment. All right. Seeing nobody approach, we'll move out, a call to the public, and move into the business items for consent. Does anybody here on the council want any of the items pulled off for separate consideration? Okay, then here we go. Item number 6. Consider approval of the street closures for the 2019 Veterans Day Parade being held on Saturday, November 9th, 2019. Item 7. Consider approval of appointing Jesse Conyas to serve a 2-year term ending September 2021 and Vanessa Perea to serve a 4-year term ending September 2023 on the Coolidge Fire Public Safety Retirement Board. Item 8. Consider approval of entering into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Coolidge and the United Way of Pinal County to provide free tax assistance to eligible households from January 13th, 2020 through April 17th, 2020. Item 9. Consider approval of accepting a Governor's Office of Highway Safety 2020 Emergency Medical Services Grant, contract number 2020 EM-001, in the amount of $30,000 awarded to the Coolidge Fire Department to purchase extrication equipment, authorizing the city manager and the fire chief to execute the GOH contract. Item 10. Consider approval of accepting a Governor's Office of Highway Safety 2020 Selective Traffic Enforcement STEP Grant, contract number 2020 PTS 015, in the amount of $6,000 awarded to the Coolidge Police Department to be used to pay overtime and ERE expenses for speed enforcement details, authorizing the city manager and the police chief to execute the GOHS contract. Item 12. Consider approval of accepting a Governor's Office of Highway Safety 2020 DUI Enforcement Grant, contract number 2020 AL-016, in the amount of $15,000, awarded to the Coolidge Police Department for DUI enforcement detail overtime and ERE expenses, phlebotomy, and miscellaneous supplies to enhance DUI impaired driving enforcement, authorizing the city manager and police chief to execute the HS enforcement contract. Item 12, consider approval of the claims for the month of August 2019. Okay, so I didn't see any, I need a motion to do something.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve business items 6 through 12 as read.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Move on to business under regular items. Item 13, consider approval of entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement with PLG LLC in the amount of $258,257.90 for the city street light conversion to LED fixtures utilizing the Town of Superior contract.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This was one of the projects that we had budgeted this year. It's not going to require any outside financing. We're using existing capital dollars to do this. We're looking at replacing about 776 lights. There'll be all of our APS street lights. We've already started some of that conversion of some of the road work projects that we've been doing along 4th Street. So if you want to take a look at any of those, we also have one on the corner, I think, of 1st Street and Coolidge Avenue, I believe. And so all these will be LED lights as opposed to the high-pressure sodiums that we have now. We're looking at being able to save, according to PLG's analysis, we'll be looking to saving about $34,608 a year just in electricity costs using those LEDs. The other thing is currently right now we have an APS street light maintenance agreement that we pay $24,000 a year. We would get out of that deal, so we'd save an additional $24,000 a year So we'd be looking at saving about $58,000 a year over our current expenditures right now. When you factor all of that in, just the savings on the street lights, we should have a payback of about 7 years. The lights are guaranteed for 10, so we see a positive cash flow there. The other thing is when you factor in the $24,000 from APS, you're looking at paying those off in about 5 years in terms of total payback. One of the good things is with this contract, if anything goes wrong, at some point we're going to come back to you with a contract that will have them do maintenance on them. If we need them, just in case somebody, decides they want to vandalize one or something happens, above and beyond the warranty. A lot of times when our Parks and Recreation crews go out to put up our Christmas lights, sometimes those little boxes will be out, so we have to do some maintenance on some of those. Right now, APS is going around and checking them, but, inevitably the weather plays a factor in all that on how those things age. Yeah, we're looking at, it's a pretty good contract. They're going to come out. If we get this approved, they'll order the lights, and we'll get started here probably in the next couple months.
I do still have a question on that, Gabe, and I don't know.
Okay.
APS, we're talking about APS, but we have other power companies in town. Does this agreement we're not going to be changing the street lights in the other areas?
We're going to talk to them. Right now, we've talked to some of the other providers, and they do a lot of the maintenance themselves, and they're already being switched out with LEDs on their side. So we wouldn't go in and retrofit them with ours on this particular project, but I know some of the other entities will go out and switch them out. We've already made contact with them, so as part of their own maintenance, they will switch them out.
One of my concerns is Martin Valley, I know, is in an APS development, and I think the way things look is they may get larger than what they are now.
Sure.
And if that's the case, they're going to need streetlights out there.
Yeah, we'd be looking at working with any development that came in at that point to make sure that we got these. This is going to be the City of Coolidge standard that we work to have these in. That way we have consistency along all city properties.
Okay, so on some of these other power companies we have obviously have a much smaller presence than APS.
Yeah.
So based on our conversations with them, are they willing to go ahead and switch them over so we have the same?
We've had positive conversations with them. I think once they see the product and see it rolled out, I think they'll be a little more excited on jumping on with it and seeing what they can do. So.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that Superior's and it's not very big. They don't have that many, and they only have they're only dealing with one power company up there.
Yeah, and you can tell just by the sheer number. I mean, the majority of our lights are APS, with the total being around 776. So.
And are they going to fix? Are we going to have all the lights up to where they need to be? So if we need to plug in our Christmas lights and we need to have all that, are they all going to be ready for that when they switch them over?
That's my understanding. I know Mr. Miller has been in contact with APS and Rich Rosales and Stephen Chassie and make sure that all that gets taken care of. And they've been on board through this process, so it's not like we're just saying, "Hey, APS, we'll see you later." They've encouraged us through this process, and they've kind of supported us. So they're the ones who said, "Hey, let's go out and let us make sure that we get all these poles checked out before we stop our maintenance contract." So we're going to do our best to make sure they're all there. But again, like I said, we have crazy winds, we have hot temperatures, and so who knows what happens from the time they check it to the time we actually go to plug them in those Christmas lights. But we'll do the best we can, and probably before December we'll bring some sort of maintenance agreement with probably PLG, and they're based out of Apache Junction, so that they can get down here quickly and address any of those issues.
Well, and I know we have a high-ranking APS official in the crowd, and our police chief is right behind him. So, maybe we can get the answer we want, sooner than later.
That's right.
No, I know that. I know there's been some discussion on, some of those poles are there's no place to plug things in. There's some problems with them. So I know they've been talking about it, but I didn't know. You haven't heard anything, have you?
Yes, I have been
I just wondered, because I know they'd been talking about it, but we haven't heard anything back, so. Okay, thank you. But, all right, anybody got any questions about, it looks like it's, we're saving some money.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have a positive cash flow. Again, these are POG's estimates that they use. A lot of municipalities actually do this, and they kind of finance it and pay for it with the savings. Where right now we don't want to face those interest costs, so we have a cash flow that we feel like that we can be able to take advantage of this project and save our own money and not pay anybody interest on it. So we're a winner right there just for paying them outright. We're saving any interest costs that we'd have. So when we look at it that way, it's a pretty good deal for us.
Do we have any idea if the council passes this tonight? Do we have any idea of when we get started?
As soon as we, if you pass this tonight, I'll probably email the contract as soon as it gets signed over to Jeff Rusk. He's the guy that we're working with, and they're going to put an order on those 700 lights. And I'm sure there's going to be some manufacturing time behind some of them, but we'll get it started as soon as we can. I know they had talked about October, November-ish, start. So just as soon as they can get them, we'll have them up.
Who's going to put them up?
They actually have a subcontractor they work with. They own both of them. So POG is the main company, and then there's another construction company that works with them. It's actually under their own umbrella, so it's all done in-house for them.
Do we have any idea if do they just bring out one bucket, or one bucket truck, or do they?
Mayor, I don't have
We
that
don't
answer.
know.
I know
I
these
just
guys are the ones who did some of the work in Casa Grande, I believe. So.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions? No. Down here.
Yeah. So in the Superior contract here, they have a completion target date. Would we get a completion target date at some point?
Yeah, once we pass this and we send it along to them, they'll give us a timeline on when they'll have them ordered, and they'll work with us to make sure that we can, work with them on timelines around the city to be able to put those in. So as soon as we get that, I'll have Mr. Miller come back and present that to you guys, so that way you guys will know.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I had a conversation with Mr. Miller regarding our Christmas decorations and our plugins, and things go around here. If they don't get put up, then I'm sure we'd hear about that too. So we want to make sure that everything coincides and we can get it all done, all of it done, instead of just portions of it. So.
Yeah, and at some point we'd probably like to upgrade those existing Christmas lights. I think
Mr. Garcia, those are historical Christmas lights.
I think they were bought at the same time the curtains were bought.
That's exactly right. They're historical, Mr. Garcia.
The Parks and Rec and the rest of these guys were taking care of us because they've lasted a long time.
Ricky's great-great-great-great-grandfather had a hand in buying them. So.
Yeah, so at some point we'd like to update those, but start with the street lights first.
Okay, then I guess I need a motion.
If there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve agenda item 13 as read.
Second it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, report from the mayor and/or city council. We'll start down here. Sheila?
Nothing new to report, folks, sorry.
Nothing I had reported. I played in the Pinal County Law Enforcement Agency's second annual golf tournament. It was a nice event. And, county attorney was there and had a good time. And it ran a little late, so I couldn't be at the Hall of Fame banquet, but I congratulate everybody that was inducted.
Don't see any trophy.
No, no trophy. I didn't have an eraser.
You told the truth. Huh?
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Down here, Tatiana?
I don't have anything.
Only just had the opportunity to check out some of the public works work out on the roads on Knapsinger and Clemens, and seeing some of the patches that they did and everything. Came out real nice. Could have done without somebody spending some Brodies in a quad on one of them, but as for the rest of them, it turned out real nice. They did a real nice job.
Mr. Garcia, you're the acting.
Well, I'm gonna keep it short. Oh yeah, past Friday we had Ricky LaPaya enter the Hall of Fame, the Coolidge High School Hall of Fame. So that was good.
Hey, hey.
So he's making a play for those lights still, I guess. Hard to tell Hall of Famer no, but we'll see. Other than that, just like to wish Mr. Miller a good time on his vacation, and so that's why you had to have me here, but I think we all survived, so.
Vice Mayor, I kind of skipped over you. I'm not used to your current appearance. Do you have anything you want to add?
I do. I attended the 9/11 memorial service at Cabot. It turned out very, very nice. And I also attended the Hall of Fame on Friday, and I too would like to publicly congratulate Ricky LaPaya and Bob Hendry. Actually, all of them. They were all great. And that's it.
Thank you. And then I echo that. I was at all of those events, and they were real nice events. Ricky gave a great acceptance speech. It was nice, and the people that received the awards, they were well deserved. They've done a lot for their community. And I'm thinking about maybe putting a helmet back on him, and maybe we can win some games again. Although we have a good team this year. I mean, we ran into a buzzsaw the other night, but we'll be all right.
The score wasn't as bad as
No.
the score wasn't as bad as the game was. You know, the score was worse than what the game actually was.
So, I think it's going well. We had a meeting with some people today that are interested in coming to Coolidge with a business, so can't go into a whole lot of detail. You never can when you're dealing with those kind of things. But so people are still very interested in this community, and so we continue to work with them, continue to try to bring more jobs to this community, and that's what we'll continue to do.
There was a gentleman that was in Garrett Motors today that said that he's going to open up a restaurant there.
Good.
Coolidge Avenue, Greek restaurant.
Yeah. Yep. There is, matter of fact, it's going to be where the barbecue place used to be.
What a great place to have it. The patio and everything out there would be a great place for a restaurant.
He's even going to open up some little businesses in the houses behind it.
Good.
Yep. So, yeah, we've got some things happening downtown. So, all right, thank you. Thank you guys for filling in. You did an excellent job. If there's nothing further, I need a motion to get out of here.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.